I'm James Beckwith, President and CEO of Five Star Bank. As a community bank, we believe that open dialogue about the issues affecting our region is vitally important. From the economy to the environment to social issues, we look forward to the conversations and hope you'll join in.
About 14 of every 1,000 residents in Stockton were victims of violent crime in 2011, the year where Stockton was the second most violent city in California. According to law enforcement, guns and gangs exacerbated by a prolonged recession and budget cuts have local citizens and their leadership looking for new solutions. Joining us today are Stockton Police Chief Eric Jones, Community Outreach Worker Jaime Constantino, and San Joaquin County Sheriff Steve Moore. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, gentlemen, how did Stockton get here?
Well, I think that's the million-dollar question, and there's no easy answer to that, because then we would certainly know what needs to be fixed to help us move forward. But Stockton has always experienced a higher crime rate historically, going back to the old mining days, through the 60s with the introduction of gangs in the city of Stockton. And right now, and gangs are not a new issue for Stockton. We've always struggled with combating gang violence. But really, I think a large contributor to our specific issue in Stockton is we also have a very high unemployment rate. We have a high poverty rate. We have a low graduation, high school graduation and education levels rate. So there are a lot of different factors that kind of have created a perfect storm. And we certainly, speaking specifically to the Stockton Police Department, we have reduced in the last couple years a lot of our proactive policing response models. So we really became more of a reactive policing model. And I think that
Tell us in layperson speak what proactive policing model means.
Well, in the beginning in the early 90s, certainly we had a lot of these proactive units, and they were units that were not tied to a radio call. They were units that went out and proactively, or on their own without having to respond to all of these different calls, looked for problems. So to get ahead of the issues. So they weren't just going around reacting and driving to 911 calls. They were going into areas and doing what we called problem-oriented policing, community policing, getting out of the car, getting to know people. We had police officers in schools. We had police officers in parks.
But aren't those the type of programs that fiscal conservatives say are this soft-headed, kind of like touchy-feely, feel-good type policing that doesn't get criminals off the streets?
Well, we do hear that. And the answer to that is you actually do need those things. Now, there's a certain threshold for police staffing you first need. You need to be able to first and foremost respond to emergency calls for service. But above and beyond that, that's how you begin to make a difference. It's getting to know the community, getting out of the police car and introducing yourself to a business owner or a community resident when there's not necessarily a problem there, but you're establishing relationships.
Sheriff, you have the city of Stockton within your jurisdiction, but your jurisdiction is broader. How do you see it?
Well, he's absolutely correct. It is the ability to a two-pronged approach. You need to be able to chase your calls for service, okay? But as those continue to grow, you're either going to have to continue to increase staff, or you need to find a better method. The better method is proactive policing, being able to start reducing the calls for service instead of just chasing that number. And as the chief has indicated, in San Joaquin County, I have several pockets within the city of Stockton. I also have a large section of East Stockton, which is contiguous to the city. So we see the washover on both sides. So we try to maintain our presence in those areas, being proactive, where you get out, where you look at what the problems are. Because as you start to solve those problems, then your calls for service go down, and therefore you've prevented crime from happening, and therefore you keep people out of the system.
Jaime, you work with these kids and the adults that they grow into. Does this stuff actually work?
Well, that all depends. What we do is we go out there basically and get involved with the youth And what we try to do is find out what's going on with the youth. We do a minor assessment in the home. As far as with us, we try to find out if they're involved in the gang, if they are, how deep they are in the gang, and what we can do to service them to help them get out of their lifestyle. And along the way, we find that some will listen and some won't. Mm-hmm. Those who do, well, they go on to succeed in life. But as far as the ones that don't listen, we'll find them at juvenile hall, pay them a visit, and see what's going on with them.
From somebody who works with these young people right out in the streets, how big is this problem from where you sit?
Well, it's very big. It's very big. It's gotten out of control. They start early, at a younger age. I've seen...
What's early?
As young as 10, 13 years of age. And starts young. I believe in early intervention. 10, 13 is young. You can find them in elementary schools. I've encountered quite a few in elementary schools already, and it's big.
And so, you know, Chief, you talk about the recession and some of the indications that are going on economically. You also talk about that Stockton has always had a long-running problem with gangs and violence. What's different about today?
What we've noticed that is going on today right now that might be a little different than, say, even about a decade ago, is the gang members, and they were gang members back then too, seem to be much more comfortable carrying firearms and using firearms. Before, and it's my belief when we really put out those proactive units, not just in the schools and in the parks, but a gang street enforcement team. And they were very assertive in their enforcement. They drove a lot of the gang members back indoors. They weren't necessarily taking over street corners. Not everybody was necessarily carrying a gun. Maybe it was a designated person that was going to carry a gun because there was a fear of being caught. And then over time, we've seen where this comfort level, in my opinion, it has come back, and there's a much more brazen, bold, enabled criminal on the street right now that we are assertively trying to change that.
Well, actually, Jaime, speak to this for a second, because the availability of guns from the interactions that you have, you can buy virtually anything on the street, right?
Correct.
Including semi-automatic weapons?
Correct.
Well, give us a sense, at least from what you encounter and hear in your work, what's the availability of something like a semi-automatic weapon price, or what make and what price?
Well, price would vary depending on the individual who is selling it, but they'll be up there pretty much between $400 and $600.
For what kind of gun? For
AK automatic. I've had youngsters at the age of 13 telling me they can purchase a revolver for $50, $70 on the streets. And there's a lot of guns on the streets right now. That's one of our big problems. And as our chief was mentioning right now about how they carry a gun, it's like a comfort zone. I agree with that, as well as I got to say, a lot of these kids have to go to school from one side of town to the other. They have to go to an uncle's house for a get-together. They have to go on the other side of town to go to the mall, our county fair. In that, they encounter a lot of enemies they have made in the gang life. So for that reason, they feel safer, comfortable with a firearm with them.
How do you even, Sheriff, how do you even keep your own officers safe when you're talking about semi-automatic weapons available on the street? Well, how do you do your job?
Well, we do it each and every day. We rely on officer safety and training, and we provide them with weaponry that's to counterbalance that as the necessary need. But one of the things I think that's exacerbating the problem is, as you know, San Joaquin County has had a court population cap on its jail probably for the last 19 plus years. That in and of itself is helping this problem by, in fact, when they do get arrested for either possession of weaponry or carrying concealed weapons, they go into the jail system and they're immediately put right back out on the street because we do not have the bed space to hold them. And then even upon conviction for those crimes, their time is so much more compressed because of the population cap versus other people that are in custody for higher or more violent crimes. So therefore, they're being pushed back out into the street more rapidly. Then when you add to today's problem with the realignment from the state of California.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a sec. I had Scott Jones sheriff of Sacramento County on a couple weeks ago. And he talked about how realignment without the necessary dollars coming from the state could turn local law enforcement jail facilities into turnstiles.
And we're pretty close to that in San Joaquin County. We've already had, like I said, a population cap for about 20 years. And while the numbers are going to continue to grow because, as you know, realignment just started in October. So we're now about 6 to 7 months into this process. We're now seeing our population for the long-term 3 years plus type situations increasing. But the one factor that really exacerbated it in San Joaquin County is the parolees. We have an inordinate amount of parole violators that are coming into the system. They're only staying in custody about 14 days, and then they're turned back out. Under the old system, when they were picked up for a violation, they would at least go out for 90 days and be housed at the state prison level. So in that stead, yes, it has become a turnstile, and these people are coming in and going right back out and coming in and going right back out, which makes it more difficult for the chief to keep his resources focused where they need to be because he's trying to answer the calls for service that are generated by these people that are continuing to do that. Now, San Joaquin County is very fortunate from the standpoint that when realignment came into vogue and we realized there was no getting around it, the county stepped up through the probation department, and then Chief Patty Mazzelli formed the process to get everybody together, form a plan to put things together. And it is a good, solid plan, and we are working on it. And it is starting to gel and be more productive in trying to deal with these people. But additionally...
Tell us how. I mean, that's a lot of words, but tell us how it's making a difference.
Okay. It's making a difference at this point where we're now starting to focus on not just warehousing people. Okay. While we need the extra bed space, and I was going to say is we got money from the state through AB 900, the additional jail bond funding, to be able to build a new facility, and we're working on that now. So we do need additional jail bed space, but that's not the answer. I can build jails till tomorrow and we can fill them up, and that's the same thing that happened in the state prison system. What we're now focusing on is trying to identify what are the needs of these individuals. Is it education? Is it job skills? Is it anger management? Is it family things? What do they need to begin to become more successful and work in society? But then when, as the chief said, you take this gentleman or lady and you provide them with some skills and you get them the training and you work them in this area, but if there's no jobs for them to do, then what else can they do? I mean, and especially with anybody that's convicted of a crime, it's tough to get a job, okay? Add now a depressed economy, and finding a job is even more difficult. And they've got to find some way to subsist.
Right. So, in talking about new solutions, Chief, you've got some new initiatives that have just come on deck. Share those with us.
Sure. Just recently we passed, the City Council for the City of Stockton passed the Violence Reduction Initiative, and that has a few prongs to it. I'll start with the first part of it, which is the development of a community response team. And what that did is we took all the resources we could muster and put them into specific, proactive community response teams. It did affect our patrol response a little bit, but the violent crime had reached such an intolerable level, it was time to do something like that. And it was developed out of a concept of real-time policing, which is based on information and intelligence going on to stop a retaliatory shooting. We pour resources in there. No matter, even though we're limited resources, we've got to do something. We've got to do something quickly. So the community response team is a sustainable effort with that, and they are deployed into our hotspot violent crime areas. And but one difference between a regular or a proactive team of old is that they first go in and meet with the community, and they help the community to actually have them define what the problem is. They know what's going on in that
You
neighborhood.
can actually get the community to do that, because it's my understanding, Jaime, that a lot of times there is a culture now within these communities of the sort of don't snitch, right, don't cooperate with law enforcement. How is an initiative like that going to work if that culture exists?
Well, what I see a lot in our community, when I step into a home, especially when they've lost a loved one, the first thing they tell me is, you know, what's being done. They're not doing anything. They haven't found anybody. They're probably just detectives drinking coffee and having their donuts. And, you know, back then I made a thought that way 30 years ago. I've been around law enforcement working around with, collaborating with them, to where I see what they go through. The community needs to understand that they are the strongest voice out there. Our detectives do not have ESP. They don't have a crystal ball where they look into it and it tells them who did this. They need to speak up. And I believe, Chief, we also have an anonymous phone number for that too, right? If they want to remain anonymous, but they need to speak up. And a lot of the times, the loved one who lost their life has friends who know who did this. And again, that's where the no snitching comes into play. So it's pretty tough.
And what we've noticed is, and we do have this anonymous tip information also through social media, a new avenue to gain information from the community. But what we've noticed is a lot of community members feel almost held hostage in their own neighborhood.
Really?
And yes, absolutely. And they'll be, many times, they'll be the first to want to identify who in that neighborhood is causing the most grief for everyone. Now, certainly there's always an amount of fear that the community members may have. That's where it's incumbent upon law enforcement to ensure we've got a level of trust between them. They do have to trust us, and they do have to know, to the extent possible, we'll leave information confidential. They can be anonymous in certain cases, and there may be times where we need to encourage them to actually come out and be witnesses. But again, they have to be able to trust us, and that's certainly a hurdle that we have.
Isn't trust not only trust that you're going to act on the information, but trust that if someone tries to retaliate against them, that you guys are actually going to be there? Right.
That would be essentially faith in the police department, faith that we will be there to protect them. And there are certain realities we can't be there 24/7 to individually protect them, but oftentimes they just, if we get the worst of the worst offenders, and we're doing many things to do exactly that with partnerships with the sheriff's office, also some on the federal level, we're really going back to targeting to the worst of the worst offenders to make life easier again for those residents in Stockton.
So, Sheriff, I want to come back to a comment that the chief made a few minutes ago about a comfort level increasing on criminals carrying weapons and feeling a bit more at ease that there aren't really repercussions attached to that. Are we seeing the development of a new mindset among criminals in general, where it is that, you know, they participate in social media, they might listen to the news, and they hear about all of these cuts and come to the conclusion that essentially there are no consequences because society can't police itself anymore?
Well, in the city of Stockton, with the reductions the chief has had to have made over the last several years, absolutely. And it doesn't even take social media. I mean, they know what their neighborhood is like. They can count how many times the black and white drives by, and they know there's a reduction. They know that they're not there, okay? So if they know they're not there, the police force was even a safety net for the gang members because it kept the two warring factions from coming together. And as Jaime pointed out, when a young man or other gang member has to traverse across town, cross different turfs, do other things, if they knew that there was a black and white in the neighborhood, they'd feel more comfortable because they know they're not going to be attacked or hit on those issues. Now, because they know there's a reduction, they feel they need to be able to protect themselves, and that it further exacerbates the violence, which is one of the reasons why we formed the countywide gang task force to be able to start working on those issues. And especially for the county, because we have so many contiguous areas to it, we see great benefit in it, and we've just got that one off the ground and moving.
I mean, a number of people who may read about these issues or see them on television, on a news program or something like that, the closest that they come to really understanding the issues related to gangs and violence is from watching a movie like Colors.
Right.
Give us a sense of what's it like to be a family, a young person living in Stockton right now, where you're in an issue where there's a high level of gang activity?
Well, being a youngster right now in the neighborhood with high crime and gang activity, it's pretty tough. It is. What they have out there a lot of times, and I see it a lot, is they have the older guys, they refer to them as the OGs, who feed them a bunch of negativism, and they groom them to be the next gangster. They talk to them about under 18 years of age, the consequences are less. Nothing's going to happen to you. You'll be out the next day. You know, what we do is we go out in the community and tell these youngsters, you know what? You can be tried as an adult at the age of 14 now. Do you know that? They got gang enhancements now that'll hurt you. They don't know this. What it is they're feeding a bunch of negative beliefs in them. First of all, gang life is a negative belief. It's a belief. And what I tell them is, I ask them simply, do the schools teach you how to gangbang? Does your religion? Do your parents? It doesn't exist. It exists in your mind because you allow it to. They're feeding it to you and you're believing in it. It's like a fire. You put more wood, it gets bigger. Same thing with a gang. Where does it end? See? So it is tough in the community when you got people mentoring these kids in a negative way, and especially for those that are being released, they feed them a lot of negativism in the neighborhood. Yeah, it's tough.
So the programs that you're talking about in terms of the interagency task force, community advisory type groups so that you have a liaison with the community, it sounds like you're attempting to reorganize resources, but give us the goal. What is it? How is it that people in those neighborhoods that Jaime is discussing, how will they know that you're winning the war?
And you're exactly right. We are reorganizing within the department. And it's not just tactical, and it's not just a structural reorganization. We're actually kind of reinventing ourselves, and this is actually a nationwide issue in a lot of areas. We're rethinking the paradigms we've had in the police department. It's partnering with community groups and even the public sector, the private sector, to levels we've never done before. And I think we'll know we're winning the war when the community begins to feel safe. It's the sentiments of how comfortable and secure they feel in their homes. We'll never reduce crime to nil. We know that, or there'd be no need for police. But certainly once the public feels more comfortable going to the store, letting their children play out in the yards, that's definitely a good gauge of how safe a community feels. We'll know we're starting to turn the tide. It will definitely take some time. It's like a big freighter ship. It's going to take a while to turn this thing because it's become quite violent in Stockton, and the crime rate or the violent crime this year is on pace to pass last year, which was a very high year. So it's going to take a lot of work, but not just from law enforcement, from all of our partners in the criminal justice system. That's why we have the city has a Marshall Plan where we're marshalling together all of the stakeholders, from the educational aspect of it to criminal justice, probation, parole, community partners, faith-based institutions. But it's going to take all of us getting together to begin to solve this problem.
I have to ask you this question. Your city has been in the paper, not just locally, but nationally a lot because of its financial situation. What happens to law enforcement if Stockton just goes insolvent?
Well, you know, with the city of Stockton going into filing for bankruptcy, certainly not what anybody wanted for the city. Regarding law enforcement, we had already cut back through 2 years of fiscal emergencies a lot of our staffing levels. We're continuing to fight the fight, though. We've got a lot of men and women at the police department who their heart and soul is in policing and the safety of the community. It's certainly becoming more difficult for us to keep our numbers up. The retention of our employees so they don't go to another city, as well as recruiting our future police officers, getting them to want to come here and be police officers. That's certainly a challenge, and it's going to be difficult, but can be done.
But somebody's got to do it, right?
That's correct.
All right. Sheriff, speak to the residents of Stockton and San Joaquin generally. How can they best support the efforts of the chief, yourself, Jaime, and others in trying to make Stockton, San Joaquin as safe as possible? How do they get involved?
They get involved by calling us when they see things. And it's not just like you talked about earlier, snitching, saying, hey, I just saw this person do that. It's calling when you see the wrong car in the neighborhood. It's calling when you see somebody that shouldn't be there. When you see things out of the norm, call us. You know, the sheriff's office, call the police department. Get involved in your community. work with the police department and our agency to do neighborhood watch programs. They are very effective, especially when they've got such a great tree on the emails that they're getting stuff faster around than I can get it around, okay? They need to take ownership of their communities, and we're going to be there to help them. We're going to take care of the heavy lifting part, but we cannot be every place that they are, nor are we ever going to know their neighborhoods as well as they do. So as long as they are willing to feed us the information, bring it to our attention, not feel silly, not feel that they're bothering us, that, oh, well, maybe this didn't happen or maybe that. Let us be that determining factor.
All right. Jaime, you're going to get the last word. In our last 15 seconds, what do you think that the people of Stockton can do to make a difference? And you got about 10 seconds now.
Well, I'd have to address the parents. It starts at home. Parents have the right to check their backpacks, check their closet, MySpace, Facebook, whatever, pockets. It's their responsibility to do so. It's their right. The kids have no rights, as far as I'm concerned, under the age of 18. And even though over the age of 18, the state law says they're out after 18. And this is what parents are telling me. After 18, he's gone. But is he really gone?
Okay. Thank you. Thank you all for being on the show.
Our pleasure.
Thank you.
Well, that's our show. And thanks to our guests, and thank you for watching Studio Sacramento. I'm Scott Sypax. See you next time right here on KVIE.
I'm James Beckwith, President and CEO of Five Star Bank. As a community bank, we believe that open dialogue about the issues affecting our region is vitally important. From the economy to the environment to social issues, we look forward to the conversations and hope you'll join in.